As Iranian missiles struck targets in Israel and tensions in the region escalated, a report has surfaced claiming that previously undisclosed U.S. contingency plans involving Iranian territory may have been under consideration behind the scenes. The reported deployment of U.S. paratroopers to Israel has fueled fresh speculation about contingency planning for Iran, with claims that troop movements may have inadvertently revealed preparations for a potential operation targeting strategic Iranian assets. Questions are being raised over whether Israel could have served as a staging ground for a potential U.S. military operation aimed at Iran's Kharg Island, the critical terminal through which most of Tehran's crude oil exports pass. Iran's large-scale missile attacks on Israel have added a new layer of uncertainty to regional calculations, potentially complicating efforts by President Donald Trump to manage the crisis while avoiding a broader and more costly conflict. Amid the latest eruption of hostilities between Iran and Israel, a controversial report published in the United States has drawn attention to what it claims were previously undisclosed military plans involving Iran. U.S. journalist Ken Klippenstein claimed on June 9 that Washington deployed paratroopers to Israel under a mission whose full purpose was not publicly disclosed at the time of deployment. According to the report, the troops were drawn from the U.S. Army's 82nd Airborne Division, one of America's most elite rapid response formations capable of deploying on short notice anywhere in the world. The 82nd Airborne is widely regarded as the U.S. military's premier quick reaction force, trained to parachute into hostile territory and rapidly seize strategic objectives during combat operations. Klippenstein's report further claimed that the deployment was connected to joint U.S. Israeli contingency planning that included a potential operation targeting Iran's Kharg Island. Located in the Persian Gulf, Kharg Island serves as the primary export terminal for Iranian crude oil, making it one of the most strategically important pieces of infrastructure in Iran's economy. The report also suggested that basing forces in Israel would reduce Washington's dependence on Arab partner nations, many of which could face political pressure over supporting military operations against Iran. According to the claims, U.S. paratroopers stationed in Israel would be able to launch operations directly from Israeli territory without requiring the consent of Gulf Arab governments. Officially, the Pentagon stated only that the troops were being deployed to the broader Middle East region, without publicly identifying the countries that would host the forces. The allegations emerged as Iran and Israel exchanged major military strikes on June 7 and 8, placing renewed focus on the risk of a wider regional conflict. Iran's foreign ministry accused Washington of being directly involved in and coordinating recent Israeli military operations in the region. Tehran alleged that U.S. Central Command has been supporting Israel in both defensive and offensive operations during the latest escalation. Iranian officials warned that the United States would be held responsible for the consequences of any further escalation or provocations in the region.
We cannot, under any circumstances, allow the Zionist regime or America to exploit the current situation to repeat their aggressions daily, expand their scope, and then simply claim that they remain committed to a ceasefire they are continuously and repeatedly violating. Therefore, our armed forces, our diplomatic apparatus, and all pillars of the Iranian nation and the Islamic Republic are fully prepared to face any situation in order to safeguard our national security and interests. Naturally, the diplomatic process that was initiated to end an imposed war, what was the philosophy of the negotiations from the beginning? The philosophy was to end the war imposed by the U.S. and the Zionist regime against Iran. It had been explicitly stated from the start, and the Pakistani mediator repeatedly emphasized that ending the war in Lebanon is part of the ceasefire. Well, if the very reason for these negotiations is undermined in any way by the Zionist regime or by any of the parties involved, namely the U.S. or Israel, then the diplomatic process will also be affected. Firstly, in our region, no one believes that the Zionist regime takes any action without prior coordination and cooperation with the United States. Also, we must not overlook the fact that the U.S. Department of State has explicitly cited protection of the Zionist regime as the primary reason for imposing this war against Iran. That has been the official U.S. position. Third, even now, despite claims by U.S. officials, we are aware that CENTCOM remains fully coordinated and cooperative with the Zionist regime, both defensively and offensively. The assertions by U.S. officials that they were unaware of the Zionist regime's actions regarding the attack on Lebanon further indicate that these officials believe, and continue to believe, that a ceasefire in Lebanon was part of the April 8 ceasefire understanding. This also raises a suspicion that either the Zionist regime is deceiving the United States, or there exists a kind of division of labor between the two. Experience shows that the latter option is far closer to reality in many cases. This is not the first time the Zionist regime has carried out a disruptive and destructive act precisely when it perceives that a process has taken a positive turn. At the highest levels, Americans have admitted, both before and after negotiations, that they kept Zionist regime officials informed of developments and acted in full coordination with them. Yet now we hear that American officials were exposed to the intelligence and security activities of the Zionist regime. This in itself is further evidence that the Zionist regime has no faith in any diplomatic process that could lead to even the slightest calm in our region. We are determined to restore relations with regional countries. The policy of good neighborliness with all countries in the region remains a consistent and unwavering policy.
The New York Times reported on June 8th that a U.S. Army Apache helicopter went down near the Strait of Hormuz. According to the New York Times, both crew members were safely rescued after the incident. The cause of the Apache incident was not immediately clear, the New York Times reported. Mechanical failure has not been ruled out, and the incident is under investigation, according to the report. The attack helicopter went down just after Israel and Iran clashed over Lebanon on June 8th. The Trump administration had not publicly disclosed the incident by Monday night, the New York Times said. Apaches have notably been used to deter small boat attacks and to shoot down drones. If confirmed, this would be the first Apache lost in the conflict, according to the New York Times. Iran has also claimed to have shot down several U.S. aircraft and drones during the war. Trump also reacted to the incident while saying he has an idea for an Iran deal.
We have ongoing negotiations in Iran and with Iran, and that hasn't stopped. And we could have at least an idea by 1 or 2 days from now, but I think it's going well. The blockade continues to hold 100%. Nothing is getting through our blockade. No oil, no income, no nothing. Nothing's getting through the blockade.
There's a report that an Army helicopter went down in the strait. Can you give us an update on that? Are the soldiers okay?
The pilots are fine, yeah.
And what
nobody injured.
Brought it down?
We are going to issue a report tomorrow, but the pilots are fine, yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.